Your small town isn't boring, you are. Hey girls, welcome back to Her Nature. And today I want to talk about why living in a small town is kind of iconic and it's slept on and underrated. We really like to hype up living in the city, but realistically, I think that there's so much joy and abundance in a small town, and it just feels like the past again. You know, those like nostalgic photos of the 90s where it's got like a retro kind of film look to it, and it's like playing in the sprinkler while your mom is gardening and you're listening to the radio. That is what the vibe of a small town feels like. It feels like taking a walk into the past. And I will just say really quickly, if you are a city girl, go off. We love that for you, but this might not be the episode for you. I'm not trying to recruit more people to live in a small town. Please don't move here if you don't. Okay, we love having it all to ourselves. But if you live in a small town, this is a safe space for us to talk about why it is the fucking best. I truly believe that the lifestyle of living in a small town is unlike anything else. And it's like this little secret that we have to ourselves that needs to be protected at all costs, and it needs to be celebrated. Okay? I come from a mid-sized town on the west side of Washington that's more like a city. And I always grew up going to this little mountain town to be with my grandparents in their cabin. And it was close to a kind of like country rural town, Ellensburg. And I graduated high school. I moved in with my grandparents and I lived at their iconic cabin, like on the lake, for a little bit until they told me, like, listen, Maddie, you're getting old enough. You're about to start college. It's time that you move out and move to Ellensburg, the rural country town that the college is in. And I remember sitting on my grandpa's couch and literally bawling my eyes out and being like, I don't want to move to Ellensburg. That's just a bunch of dumb hicks. Like, I did not see the lore at the time. I was crashing out. I was like, please let me stay at the cabin. They said, no, it's time to be a bird. It's time to let your wings spread and fly away. And I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, that was a pivotal moment. That was a pivotal moment because when I moved to Ellensburg, I had no idea what it would teach me, the lifestyle, the community that I would build, and just how beautiful living in the country is. It's iconic. My hot take is that people romanticize living in the city. You think that you're going to like live this Sex in the City experience and be able to like live in Seattle or San Francisco, or live in New York and go get little martinis at night and dress in like luxe fashion. But the reality is that's not the lifestyle for most people. To be able to live the city life, you need the city money. And to have the city money, there's so much sacrifice. It's like, how much time do you really have to enjoy living in the city when you have to be living the city lifestyle? To each their own, but I do think that sometimes people equate living in the city with being better because it's like more options, more restaurants, more things to do. But since when is more better? There's this cost of lifestyle that we sacrifice when we choose to live somewhere that's super expensive and urban, and the contrast to living in a small town and having all this freedom, all this capacity. To each their own, but I really feel like the decision is so clear on which one is worth it. I see a lot of people who grew up in a rural town move to the city because they think that it's going to be better. They're going to have more opportunity. They want to live a faster, fun lifestyle. And then once they get over there, they realize that like, oh, I'm sitting in traffic all day. It's expensive to live here. I have to work a corporate job. I have to go in person. I can't afford to have my car. So I have to walk everywhere. And then it's impossible to go do the things that I like. And then these people, they end up just like living a lifestyle where they're sitting at home and ordering Uber Eats and watching TV all day because they don't have as much capacity to live like this Christian gray lifestyle that they were sold. And so we see a lot of people who grew up in a rural environment leave and then come back because they realize what's actually up. One of the reasons why I love living in a small town is because it's slow, it's simple, and you really can do the most in one day. I can wake up in the morning, load up the car, go on a hike, get lunch, stop by the grocery store, get groceries for dinner, and literally be back home by noon. It's just not realistic to be able to do everything that you need to do when you live in a city. I was in a meeting with my co-founder and one of our industry partners a couple of weeks ago, and we were getting breakfast and it was 10:55. And I was like, we got to go. We have a meeting at 11. Good to see you, dude. We're going to head out. And he's living in Seattle. He was like, oh, what? He's like, I forgot that you can literally have a meeting here in 5 minutes and be there on time because it's just steps away. Like the capacity to fit the most in your day is so much more in a small town. And I'm able to do a bunch of meetings and catching up with people in person because there's like zero travel time. It's just convenient. I am not built for waiting in line, waiting in traffic. That literally makes me feel rage. It makes me want to cry. And when I go over to the city to get brunch with a friend and you're standing in line, you tell them, hi, I'd like to get a table for just two. It's a Thursday morning. I want to get a table for two. And they say, it's going to be a 45-minute wait. What's your phone number? And we'll give you a call. You can stand outside in the rain and wait for us to text you. It just feels so disconnected. For what? For me to go in and get a mimosa that's mostly orange juice and a mediocre Eggs Benedict and then pay $100? Like, I am not built for that. There's like no traffic in a small town. If you want to go do something, there's space. People welcome you in. They're excited to see you. If you go to like a campground here, you roll up and there's spaces to choose from. You're not having to like fight someone in the parking lot to get a space to park. That's exhausting. And I truly believe, I know that this is going to be another hot take, but even though there's more activities in the city, they're chuggy and they're boring. And especially having kids, it's like, do I want to take my kid to like a gross, stinky indoor playground with like vomit all over the carpet? I'm being so dramatic right now, but like, I just feel like the activities aren't even good activities over there. It's chuggy. My bestie is pregnant right now. And last weekend we went to Bellevue, to the city, to like go shopping for baby stuff and just have some mommy time. And I was looking on Instagram for so long, like, what are the cutest, most girly restaurants in Bellevue? Because I wanted to like treat her to a nice lunch to celebrate her baby. And there was this one, it was like a Thai restaurant with all of these viral videos that showed like florals coming out of the dishes and like custom mocktails that were so cute. And the space was like beautiful with like hanging chandeliers and like florals coming out of everywhere. And I was like, this is going to be the most iconic spot to treat my bestie. And we pull up, I put it in my maps after shopping. It's in a Safeway parking lot in a strip mall. And I don't judge a book by the cover. Okay. So I'm like, all right, let's go in and check it out. We walk in. It was good, but it it looked very dollar store fake florals. That was the vibe. It was giving like cheap Amazon wallpaper and then like dusty plastic florals everywhere. And this is exactly how I felt when I romanticized the restaurant Sir in Vanderpump Rules, and I wanted to go down to Hollywood and visit Sir, and I walked in and it does not look like how it looks on TV. It's cheap. It's literally dusty. And it just feels, I know that there's a lot of high-end places in the city, but this is what I'm getting at, is like, I do feel like oftentimes on social media, it looks a lot better than it is. And sometimes you get the food and you're like, oh, there's nothing really happening here. The flavors aren't flavoring. Okay. I'm not saying that living in a small town has elite food and beverage. Okay. But what I'm saying is, if your point of living in the city is to be able to have these experiences, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it seems a lot better than it is. And we tend to forget that you can always go travel to the city when you live in a small town to have certain experiences, but you don't have to live there. You can live a small town lifestyle. Living in a small town is just a different type of way of walking through life. Like, you really know everybody. There's good and bad parts to that, but I feel like being in a small town and working with a lot of people in my town, having a lot of friends in my town, it has helped me learn so much about like different paths of life, different people's decisions, and like what happiness means to them. I love them. I love to catch up with everybody. In the city, it feels like when you go to like an event, you're getting to know everybody. Like, oh, what industry are you in? Like, it's blind dating, and it's like, do you actually give a fuck about that person? I don't think so. In a small town, when you're checking in on people, you know their tea. You know, like, what makes them feel alive, like what they're doing, how their family is. You're able to genuinely check in on them. And I feel this even at like the grocery store or the farmer's market. When I walk around, I can like catch up with everybody and touch base with them. And that is so in our nature. That's the way that we should be living, like in a community where we're able to genuinely know people and support them and, you know, put our hand on their shoulder and look into their eyes. Like, that connection is how we're supposed to be living as women. And when you have all these connections in a small town, you're also able to know like the local legends. There are so many underrated people that are so good at what they do, or like just have a heart of gold, and you get to know them and you get this closeness that you just probably wouldn't get living in the city and not being able to like form a connection with a bunch of people. It's nice to have a guy for everything. If I need anything, if I'm in a sticky situation, if I need a referral for anything, I know exactly who to go to in a small town, or I know somebody that I can reach out to that would help me find that person. And it's nice to just like feel like I'm in a community that has my back. And I can do that for others. It's nice to know when somebody has an event to support a cause, or they're going through a transition, I can have their back. I can live in a way that gives back and it all comes back to me. Like, it's just this like holistic way of interacting with a network of people, a village. I'm going to do a whole nother episode on why everybody wants a village, especially postpartum, and why nobody wants to be a villager and how annoying that is. And I feel like a big part of that is like when you're in the role of being the villager to someone else, but your lifestyle is so fast paced, it's like, how do you show up for them? But living in a small town, it gives so much more space to be able to do that for each other. And it just feels so good. It's something that money can't buy. My small town has like a very involved downtown association. We have annual events like a hoedown. And then when the rodeo happens, everybody comes from literally around the world to participate in this event and like celebrate this way of life. And it's so fun to be a local here and have like traditions and just this lifestyle that everybody is on the same page of, that we're embracing. Like even I work in like a historic downtown, and understanding the history of this place and the buildings, being able to have conversations with historians and artists about what has happened here before we were here, it adds so much like connection to living here. And if you live in a big city, how do you do that? I don't really think that it's possible unless you're like a part of a historic society. And so you're just like walking through these modern times, but are you really having a touch to the place that you're living and working? Another reason why I eat up living in a small town is because I feel like a main character. And I'll tell you, whenever I go to the city here in Washington, I look around and I'm like, oh, I thought that I was cute. Apparently not. Like there are so many bad bitches in the city and they have the money to do it. And I feel ugly, but that's all good. Living in a small town, like you get to really be you, and you're like one of the only people being you. It's not only about like feeling pretty. It's more like whatever your thing is, or the like passions that you have, you're able to be like that person in your community. It's giving main character energy. It's giving feeling like a person and not a number. Like when I go to get brunch here, I know the baristas, I know the service staff. Walk in, they say, hey, how's everything going? We catch up a little bit, get seated immediately. Like I tip well, obviously. Like there's just so much like personal connection in the everyday exchanges. And it's not just one of these things where they're like, give me your phone number and I'm going to text you when your table is ready. And you're our like 200th person of the day to come in here and get some pancakes. It really feels like an event to go anywhere. And like you can literally go to the store or like walk downtown and end up seeing somebody that you know and having a full-blown conversation with them and like crying and having a healing moment with them on a park bench that was totally unexpected. Like this is the way that we're supposed to live. We're not supposed to be so disconnected where we're never seeing people that we know. We're supposed to be living like having the capacity in the current moment, in the present, to be able to sit down and catch up with someone. When I go on my walks with my son, I put on my little athleisure set. I put him in the stroller. I put my headphones in and I play like the Black Eyed Peas. And I strut. The sidewalk is my runway. Nobody could tell me different. And it just feels like I own this fucking town, bitch. And I know everywhere. I know people's homes. I know the businesses. It feels like a safe community of like truly being a part of this, not just like walking through it. It's romantic to live in a small town. Whenever I go to the grocery store in the city, my autism spikes. I truly feel like I am in survival mode and everything stresses me out. People are rude. I know I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I'm not saying that like it's always like this, but I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder and there's just no connection. When you go to the store here, there's like conversation, there's people being considerate of you, and it's just an elite, everything is an elite experience in a small town. Another thing that is slept on and we don't talk enough about is that in today's age, you can have big dreams anywhere. A lot of people say, I want to move to the city because I want to have a big life. I want to do what I love. I want to make it happen for myself. And I need to move there to do that. And then they work at Amazon and they're a slave to corporate their whole life. Unless you want to be like an engineer for Boeing or something like that, where you literally have to live and work in person in a big city, you can do so much in a small town. You can dominate an industry. There's so much less competition and so many more referrals when you're good at what you do and you work in a small town. You can be known as that bitch in a small town for whatever you're passionate about, for whatever your dreams are. You can reach out to people that can help support your dreams. And it's like an escalation to get there. And it's not like you have to be like shut down to society and like having your mind in this small bubble. Like a lot of people say that too. I don't want to live in a bubble. It's like, I'm sorry, but have you heard of travel? When you live in a small town and your mortgage is cheap and you don't have to be commuting around all day, every day, you have so much more time and money to go do whatever you want to do. Like you can be cultured. You can go travel to the city as often as you want. I go a couple times a month to the city to do things that are city coded. And you can have the capacity to go travel wherever you want. Fly out, go see the world. That doesn't mean that you have to live in a big city to do that. Another thing that I hear all the time is people be like, there's nothing to do here. And again, it depends on your lifestyle. If you want to like go clubbing all the time, obviously, girl, go live in the city. Again, this episode isn't for you. Go be a city girl. But if you're somebody that wants family, that wants adventure, that wants peace, that wants community, you haven't done everything here. I have lived in my small town for over 10 years and I've been on hundreds of hikes. I've went on so many like back road drives and, seen so much of my region. But still, there's so many places I haven't explored. So many. It's like limitless. Once you really start getting out there, especially if you're into recreation, it's like one road opens up a whole opportunity, like a web of all these different experiences that you can enjoy. And then times that by 4 if you live in a multi-seasonal rural town, because it changes throughout the year. Like there's so much to do and it's so wholesome, like living a slow paced lifestyle, getting to know people and like truly trusting, being able to live like it's the past. It's everything. I was at the grocery store a couple of weeks ago and I had $100 bill on the side of my purse and I dropped it. And I told my husband like, oh shit, I dropped that $100 bill. He's like, are you serious? It's $100. Like, why did you drop that? So then I was like, okay, I'll go to customer service and just see if they happen to find it. I go to the customer service and I let them know, like, I dropped my money. Is there anything that you can do? Why not check, right? In this economy. And they were like, yeah, actually, you dropped it over by the milk aisle and someone returned it to us. Here you go. They just gave it to me. I was like, this would never happen in the city. It's just wholesome. Not only would it never happen for someone to find that money on the ground and then bring it to customer service and return it, but it would never happen that the customer service would have a policy to be able to give it back. It's just so nice, like so wholesome. It reminds me of my childhood. And I truly wish that I could go back to me at like 17, crying at my grandpa's cabin and being so devastated that I had to move to a rural town and just like pat my back and tell myself like, you know what? You're going to love it. It's going to introduce you to a lifestyle that not everybody gets to live, but it truly is how we're supposed to. It truly is getting back to our nature to live in a small town, and you're not going to want to have it any other way. Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to take a minute to shit on living in the city and share that with you. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.